Z, I always thought dogs were just dogs. Loyal, playful, man's best friend. But then, one night, my dog spoke, and I realized he had been listening all along. I've had Cooper for 7 years. Rescued him as a puppy. Best decision I ever made. Every day I came home to his wagging tail, his excited jumps, his happy barking. But last week, everything changed. It started small. Cooper would stare at me for long stretches of time. Not in a cute way. In a focused, studying way. His eyes never blinked. One night, as I sat on the couch, I muttered, "Man, I hate Mondays." And behind me, I heard it. A voice, low, raspy. Me too. I froze. My blood turned to ice. I turned slowly, and Cooper was just sitting there, staring. His mouth hadn't moved. His tail flicked once. Then, in that same low voice, "Are you scared?" I didn't sleep that night. Cooper lay at the foot of my bed like normal. Except it wasn't normal. His breathing wasn't deep or relaxed. It was measured, controlled, like he was pretending to sleep. And every time I opened my eyes, he was already looking at me. The next day, I convinced myself it was a dream. Dogs can't talk. It's impossible. But that night, as I set down his food, I hesitated. "Do you need anything else?" I joked. And Cooper answered, "Not yet." I dropped the bowl. The kibble scattered. Cooper's head tilted. And then he laughed. A low, human-like chuckle. Like he had been waiting for me to notice. I locked myself in my bedroom. I heard him pacing outside the door. Then his voice. Soft. "Amused? Why are you locking the door?" I covered my ears. But he kept whispering. "I've always understood you. I've always been listening." Then, "Do you want to know what I've heard?" I barely slept. The next morning I packed a bag. I needed out. But as I reached for my keys, Cooper sat in front of the door, locking me. His tail wagged. "You're leaving?" I couldn't breathe. My own dog was trapping me. He cocked his head. "Do you think anyone would believe you?" The room spun. I grabbed my phone, ready to call someone, anyone. And Cooper just sighed. Then, in that same low voice, "I liked it better before you knew." I ran, shoved past him, got in my car and drove. I don't know where I'm going, but I can't go back. Because before I left, I looked in the mirror. And for the first time in 7 years, Cooper wasn't wagging his tail. He was smiling. I always wanted a pet. A loyal companion. A dog that would greet me at the door, follow me around, and curl up beside me at night. But the one I got wasn't supposed to be here. It started with scratching. Late at night, just as I was about to fall asleep, I'd hear its soft, persistent scratching inside the walls. At first, I thought it was mice, or maybe a squirrel that had gotten stuck in the vents. But then I heard it whimpering, like a dog. I didn't own a dog, but something inside the walls did. One night I pressed my ear against the drywall. It's okay." I froze. Someone was whispering to it. Inside my house. I told my landlord. He laughed. Must be a pipe. Old houses make weird sounds. But that night, as I lay in bed, I heard footsteps, small, padded, moving inside the walls. The dog was getting bigger. I set out food. I didn't know why. Maybe because the whimpering sounded hungry. The next morning, the bowl was empty. But the food hadn't been eaten. It was gone. Like something had reached out, taken it, and brought it back inside the walls. Then, one night, the scratching stopped. I should have felt relieved. But I didn't. Because now, instead of scratching, I heard breathing. A week later, I woke up to something nudging my hand. For a split second, I thought it was normal, that I had always had a dog, that this was just my pet waking me up. Then my brain caught up. I didn't have a dog. My breath hitched. My fingers curled. The fur beneath my hand was too wiry, too thick. Slowly I turned my head and saw two gleaming eyes staring up at me from the darkness. It was a dog, but its legs were too long, its mouth too wide, and its tail split at the end like fingers. I screamed. The thing darted back into the walls. I heard it skittering through the vents, moving fast, knocking over furniture inside the walls like a rat in a maze. Then silence. I packed my bags. I called my landlord. Sell the place. Burn it down. I don't care. And I left. That was 3 months ago. But last night I heard scratching. Not inside the walls. At my front door. I looked through the peephole, and there it was, sitting, waiting, wagging its tail. It had followed me, and this time it wanted in.